When we enter the workforce, we're handed a narrative. It sounds something like this: get a job, work hard, get promoted, repeat. And if you keep repeating that loop, you'll rise up the ladder, and somewhere near the top, you'll find success. But that narrative is broken, not because it's entirely wrong, but because it's incomplete. It assumes that everyone's goal is to climb, and that there's only one direction worth moving in, up. But life doesn't work in straight lines, and neither should your career. Think about it. Some of the most fulfilled professionals didn't follow a perfectly straight path. They took detours, they paused, they switched lanes entirely. And it's not because they failed, it's because they listened. They paid attention to what energized them, what drained them, where they felt most useful, and where they felt out of place. They realized that managing a career isn't about reaching some arbitrary peak. It's about moving with intention and curiosity. The problem with the latter mentality is that it reduces your career to a series of status checkpoints. You're constantly comparing yourself, your title, your salary, your achievements to others. And if someone's higher up, you feel behind. That's toxic. It robs you of joy, of purpose, of the chance to actually build something meaningful. Because when you're so focused on climbing, you miss the bigger picture. Are you even on the right wall? A journey mindset reframes everything. It asks better questions. What am I learning? Who am I becoming? Does this role challenge me in the right ways? Am I surrounded by people who make me better? Instead of racing, you start exploring. You pay attention to culture, to leadership, to your gut. When you stop seeing your career as a ladder, you also stop panicking when things don't go up. A lateral move, that's not failure. It could be wisdom. Taking a step back, that's not weakness. It could be strategy. Trying something new, even if it's outside your comfort zone, that's not confusion. It could be clarity waiting to happen. And let's talk about the people who appear to be ahead of you. We look at them and we often feel like we're behind. But you don't know what trade-offs they've made. You don't know if they're fulfilled. You don't know if they feel stuck, exhausted, or alone. Success without purpose isn't success. It's emptiness in disguise. When you think about your career as a journey, you also make space for grace. You give yourself permission to grow, to question, to evolve. You don't beat yourself up for not having it all figured out, because nobody does. Not really. Not the CEO, not the founder, not the manager who looks like they've got it together. We're all trying to navigate complexity, and the people who navigate it best are the ones who stay curious. Curiosity is what drives a career forward, not just ambition. Ambition wants to win. Curiosity wants to learn. Ambition pushes, curiosity pulls. And when you lead with curiosity, you find opportunities others miss. You ask better questions in interviews. You listen more in meetings. You notice where the gaps are and how you might fill them. You become indispensable, not because you're climbing faster, but because you're adding more value in ways that matter. So if you're feeling lost in your career or stuck or behind, it's okay. You're not off track. You're on the path of discovery. Just make sure it's your path, not someone else's. Because the right way to manage your career isn't about chasing what looks good. It's about building something that feels right, that aligns with who you are and who you're becoming. So many of us launch into our careers chasing titles, money, or the approval of others. We follow paths that are expected of us, or we chase opportunities that look good on paper. But after a few years, or sometimes even just a few months, we start to feel disconnected. The work feels heavy. The motivation fades. We wonder why we're tired, unfulfilled, or anxious. And it all comes down to one powerful truth. We never took the time to ask ourselves why we're doing this in the first place. Your why is your anchor. It's the foundation of everything. Without it, your career becomes reactive. You say yes to things you don't really want. You follow momentum without direction. And eventually you burn out. But when you lead with your why, you gain clarity, courage, and conviction. You're no longer just chasing success. You're building a life that means something. Let me be clear. Your why isn't a goal. It's not get promoted or start a business or make six figures. Those are results. Your why is the deeper reason underneath the goal. It's about impact, meaning, contribution. It's about who you want to be in the world and what kind of legacy you want to leave behind, no matter what role or industry you're in. And here's the thing. Most people never pause long enough to define it. They're too busy hustling, comparing, doubting. But your why isn't something you stumble into. It's something you uncover by reflecting, by asking honest questions. What energizes me? What breaks my heart? What kind of problems do I feel called to solve? What kind of people do I love helping? When do I feel most alive? Your why doesn't have to be grand or dramatic. It can be quiet and steady. Maybe your why is to help people feel seen, or to bring order to chaos, or to inspire others through creativity. Once you find it, it becomes your filter. It helps you decide what to pursue, what to say no to, and when to walk away. It gives your career direction, not just motion. Now, this is where it gets powerful. When you communicate your why clearly, you become magnetic. Employers notice, teams trust you, clients feel your passion, because people don't just want to work with talented professionals, they want to work with purposeful ones. People who care, people who believe in something bigger than themselves. Even in tough moments, layoffs, rejections, transitions, your why is what keeps you grounded. Because setbacks don't shake you when you know why you're in the game to begin with. You're not just clocking in for a paycheck. You're showing up for a mission. And yes, your why might evolve over time. That's okay. You're allowed to grow, to change, to see the world differently. What matters is that you stay connected to it, that you revisit it often, that you ask, is this role, this environment, this project aligned with what matters most to me? And if the answer is no, have the courage to pivot. When you start with why, you stop settling. You stop tolerating mediocrity. You stop chasing approval, because you realize that your career isn't about living someone else's dream. It's about honoring your own values, your own story, your own path. That's the heart of great leadership too. Leaders don't inspire by shouting orders or flaunting credentials. They inspire by knowing their why and living it. And when you do that, when you lead your own life with clarity and purpose, people will follow. Not because you told them to, but because you've shown them what it looks like to live with intention. So if you want to manage your career the right way, don't start with the what or the how, start with the why. Everything meaningful flows from there. One of the biggest traps we fall into in our careers is chasing titles. We measure progress by how impressive our job title sounds to other people: manager, director, VP. We think the more important the title, the more successful we are. And here's the truth, it's a lie. It's one of the most common career mistakes, and it's costing you purpose, growth, and genuine satisfaction. A title is just a label. It tells someone where you sit on an org chart, but it doesn't say anything about your character, your contribution, or your impact. And if your only focus is climbing the title ladder, you're going to miss what actually matters: building a career that's meaningful to you and valuable to others. Let me ask you something. Have you ever met someone with a fancy title who's miserable in their job? Of course you have. We all have. They've reached some external milestone, but inside, they're bored, frustrated, or worse, numb. That's what happens when you chase validation instead of value. You look like you're winning, but it doesn't feel like winning. Now, I'm not saying titles don't matter at all. They can open doors, they can signal expertise, but the title alone is hollow unless it's backed by real substance. Your goal shouldn't be to chase a title. Your goal should be to create so much impact that the title becomes a natural outcome of the value you bring. You want to be the person who is indispensable, not because of your title, but because of how you show up, because of how you solve problems, because of how you lead with integrity, because of how you make people feel. You want to build a reputation that says, that's someone I trust. That's someone who gets things done. That's someone who makes everything better. Here's where it gets real. Impact is something you can control. Title, not always, but impact, that's about your mindset, your effort, your ability to listen, to collaborate, to innovate. It's how you carry yourself when no one is watching. It's how you speak up when it matters. It's how you take initiative and own your results. If you want to future-proof your career, focus on becoming a person of impact. That's the person who gets noticed. That's the person who gets invited into the room where decisions are made. That's the person who gets offered opportunities, not because they demanded them, but because they earned them. Here's something else to consider. The world is changing fast. Titles are becoming less relevant in many fields. The gig economy, startups, flat organizations. These environments reward creativity, adaptability, and results over hierarchy. So if you've been trained to only value the climb, you're going to miss out on the massive opportunity that exists when you build real influence. And influence doesn't come from waiting for someone to promote you. It comes from delivering results that matter, from consistently helping others win, from showing up every single day with clarity about how you can contribute to something bigger than yourself. Ask yourself, am I focused on being impressive or being impactful? The first one feeds your ego. The second one feeds your soul and your career. This shift from chasing titles to creating impact isn't just about your job. It's about your identity. When you detach your worth from your position and attach it to your contribution, you become more confident, more resilient, and more free. And here's the best part. When you focus on impact, the recognition often follows anyway. The titles come, the promotions happen, but they're not the goal. They're the byproduct of doing meaningful work that serves others and aligns with who you are. So stop obsessing over the title you don't have yet. Start showing up like the leader you already are. Build your reputation around contribution, not comparison. That's the right way to manage your career. That's how you build something that lasts. We spend so much time polishing our resumes, adding job titles, bullet points, and certifications. We pour energy into our LinkedIn profiles, our cover letters, and our elevator pitches. And sure, those things matter. They get you in the door, but they don't keep you in the room. They don't lead to meaningful growth. What truly moves your career forward, what opens doors you didn't even know existed, is relationships. Let's be clear, your career is not a solo project. It's a network. It's a system of connections, of people who see you, support you, challenge you, and refer you. And if you're not actively building those relationships, you're missing the most valuable part of your career development. You can have the best resume in the world, but if no one knows you, trusts you, or advocates for you, it won't matter. The truth is, people hire people they know. People recommend people they believe in. People promote people they feel connected to. And that connection, it doesn't start with a job title. It starts with trust. It starts with showing up as someone who's consistent, helpful, curious, and real. Now, I'm not talking about shallow networking. I'm not saying work the room or hand out business card like candy. That's old school. That's transactional. What I'm talking about is building real relationships over time by being valuable, by being human, and by genuinely caring. Start by asking yourself, who do I admire? Who's doing work that inspires me? Reach out, ask questions, listen more than you talk. Don't ask for a favor, offer value, comment on their work, share resources, cheer them on. And don't limit this to people above you on the ladder. Build across, connect with peers, collaborate, share ideas, help each other grow. One of the biggest mistakes we make is only thinking about relationships when we need something. But the best time to build a relationship is when you don't need anything at all. That's when your intentions are clear. That's when you're planting seeds. And later, when those seeds grow into trust, that's when opportunities begin to show up, often in ways you never expected. Another piece of this, don't underestimate the relationships inside your current job. It's easy to keep your head down and just do the work, but the people around you, they're watching. They're noticing how you communicate, how you handle pressure, how you treat others. Those everyday moments are building your reputation, whether you realize it or not. So be someone people want to work with. Be someone people want to root for. Be generous with your time. Be humble enough to ask for help. Be kind without expecting anything in return. That's how trust grows. That's how you build a career that isn't just impressive on paper, but rich in connection and meaning. We've been conditioned to chase titles. From the first time someone asks us, what do you want to be when you grow up? The focus is on the label, manager, director, CEO. It's drilled into us that the title is the goal, that it's the measure of success. And let's be honest, titles feel good. They validate us. They look impressive. They signal progress. But here's the truth no one talks about. Titles are temporary. Impact is permanent. You can have the biggest title in the room and still not be respected. You can reach VP or Chief Something Officer and still feel unfulfilled. Why? Because titles don't create meaning. Impact does. Contribution does. The feeling that you are doing work that matters, that resonates far deeper than a title ever will. When you shift your mindset from chasing status to chasing service, everything changes. You stop asking, how can I get ahead? And start asking, how can I make a difference? You stop worrying about climbing a ladder and start focusing on building something that lasts. And ironically, when you do that, when you focus on making real impact, the titles often follow anyway. Think about the people you admire in your field. The ones who light you up, who inspire you to be better. Is it really their title that moves you? Or is it what they stand for? Is it how they treat others? Is it the legacy they're building? Impact is about being intentional. It's about asking yourself, am I helping others grow? Am I solving real problems? Am I leaving people better than I found them? These are the questions that lead to purpose. These are the questions that lead to fulfillment. And let's talk about your influence right where you are, because you don't need a title to lead. You don't need a promotion to start making a difference. Leadership isn't about a nameplate or a job description. It's about mindset. It's about how you show up, how you communicate, how you make people feel. You can lead from any seat at the table. I've seen people with no formal authority become the heartbeat of a team because they bring clarity, energy, and trust. They mentor others. They speak up when it's hard. They lift people up. That's impact. And guess what? Everyone notices. That kind of presence, consistent, values-driven, people first, it builds momentum. It builds trust. And eventually it builds opportunities that no title alone could unlock. So ask yourself today, are you obsessing over your title or are you focusing on your impact? Are you chasing validation or are you creating value? Because if you're only focused on the next job title, you might miss the moments that actually build your legacy. Impact is also about alignment. Are your actions aligned with your values? Are you building something you'll be proud of 5 years from now? Or just collecting shiny things to impress people who may not even matter in the long run? You have to define what success looks like for you, not what the world tells you it should be. And there's a myth in the workplace and in life that the people who look the most confident, who always have an answer, who never hesitate when asked a question, are the most competent. But let's be real, that's not leadership. That's performance. And it's exhausting. One of the most powerful things you can do to manage your career the right way is to embrace the courage to say 4 words. I don't know yet. That's it. Not pretending, not guessing, not scrambling to impress, just owning what you don't know and committing to finding out. Because here's what happens when you do that. First, you stop putting pressure on yourself to be perfect. You stop trying to hold up this image of being the smartest person in the room. That image will crack eventually. And when it does, it's not just your reputation that takes a hit. Your confidence does too. But when you can stand in a moment and say, you know what? I don't have that answer, but I'll figure it out. You're showing humility, not weakness. You're showing curiosity, not incompetence. And people respect that. They trust that because authenticity breeds credibility. The best leaders, the most respected professionals are the ones who ask better questions, not the ones who pretend to already have every answer. They're the ones who are learners, who are constantly evolving, who invite others into the conversation instead of trying to dominate it. And there's something liberating about being honest with yourself and others. You create space for collaboration. You create an environment where others feel safe admitting what they don't know too. And that's where real progress starts. Think about it. How many times have you sat in a meeting completely unsure of what someone was talking about, but nodded along anyway? How many times have you left that room more confused than when you walked in, simply because no one wanted to be the one to say, "Can we pause for a second? I'm not sure I'm following." That's the fear of judgment running the show. But imagine what would shift if you were the one who spoke up. If you were the one who said, "Let's slow down. I want to make sure we're all aligned." That kind of honesty, spoken with calm confidence, doesn't lower your value. It raises it. It shows leadership. It shows courage. It shows that you care more about getting it right than looking right. Let's talk about something we've all been taught in our careers, the importance of networking. We've been told to go to events, collect business cards, polish our LinkedIn profiles, and make small talk over coffee. And while those tactics aren't necessarily wrong, they're not the whole picture. Because the truth is, networking isn't enough. If you want to manage your career the right way, you need to build relationships, real ones with depth, meaning, and trust. A network might get you an introduction, but a relationship gets you an opportunity. A network might endorse your resume, but a relationship will advocate for your growth. And in a world where the line between technical skill and human connection is getting thinner every day, it's the relationships you build that will carry you when your resume can't. Now, I know what you might be thinking, but Simon, I'm not a people person. That's fine. This isn't about becoming a social butterfly or forcing fake connections. This is about investing time and energy into the people around you, learning their stories, sharing yours, and creating bonds that are rooted in authenticity, not agenda. Start by showing up for people when it matters. Send the follow-up email. Remember their birthdays, celebrate their wins, offer to help without expecting something in return. These small actions compound into trust, and trust is the currency of influence. When people trust you, they'll open doors for you that no amount of networking ever could. It also means reaching out to people not just when you need something, but when they might. Ask how you can be of service. Be curious about what they care about. Share resources, insights, encouragement. That's how you become the kind of person others are drawn to, not because you're transactional, but because you're human. One of the most overlooked places to build these kinds of relationships is inside your current organization. So many of us are so focused on what's next that we ignore the people sitting right beside us, your peers, your cross-functional teammates, your support staff. Those are the people who see your work, your habits, your character day in and day out. And those are the people who will remember you long after you've moved on. So treat every interaction like it matters, because it does. The way you respond to an email, the tone you use in meetings, whether you say thank you when someone helps you hit a deadline, all of it builds a reputation. And that reputation isn't just what people say about you, it's what people feel about you. And that feeling, that's what makes the difference.